Hey, so I want to do a video on morality, and I've done briefly before, but I'm gonna change it a little bit and add a little bit more depth. So I think before what I talked about was morality derived from analysis of consequence over varying degrees of time, based on the individual's perspective. Um, So basically, we're running from pain and we're chasing after pleasure and we're making these predictions on the future based on, you know, varying weighted probabilities, guesses about the future, and studying the past. And based on that, we derive morality from pain avoidance on a large scale and a small scale. Um, I would say that argument has a vulnerability of censorship and power and greater good, domination, etc. You know, so where I kind of think it's actually seated, and I'm gonna say, um, it's the Buddha. It's the truth. Um, Awareness gives rise to the avoidance of suffering. So by that I mean, like, we have bad karma, right? But if you're walking around and every day we go, I'm not gonna people. Everything's a competition. I'm a competitive guy, so I'm not gonna knock it. But everybody has low moments and high moments, and I mean moments of high awareness and moments of low awareness when they're sleepy, when they're drowsy. Those moments are vulnerable, and not just to manipulation, but vulnerable to attack. When you're asleep, you can get killed pretty easily. It's something biologists have wrestled with because it's such vulnerability. It's like, why does it, how they decided it's necessary for survival to have sleep. Otherwise, animals would simply not sleep because the animals that fell asleep would get murdered, and the ones that didn't wouldn't. So, anyway, through awareness, we can avoid suffering in the same way that we avoid suffering through a natural moral law. So, by that I mean, when a Buddhist or a person of a particular faith that deals with reincarnation and karmatic justice stubs their toe, for instance, they would say, it's bad karma. And maybe a true practitioner would say, what a great opportunity to shine. But, I digress. Through the practice of awareness, we can avoid stubbing our toe, or we can avoid making mistakes that we otherwise would have. And I think that is a virtue in the same way that, numbing our awarenesses through drug use is a vice. It is a vice, but it's a vice not because it like offends some authority figure. It's a vice because it numbs your awareness and increases your suffering. And a good authority figure, and this is where I'll draw a distinction, a good authority figure, which I would consider like a Buddhist monk, would say basically that, the the lessons, the teachings aren't here because I want to control you. The lessons and the teachings are here because if you follow them, you won't get hurt. Right? Because you'll have a higher level of awareness, you'll have more consciousness, and you'll be less likely to hurt yourself by accident, by lack of awareness. And you can also see the flip side of it, where like somebody who's maybe killed someone or did something like that, they would have a tremendous difficulty having conscious awareness because they would always be punishing themselves and reenacting the the crime, so that they would not want to think about that, and then they would take away their own awareness. So you can see how that would be negative karma in like a real tangible sense. But I think that the flip side, the flip side is that, domination. When the moral law, which is derived through study of consequence and put into practice to avoid human suffering, is used to dominate and cause human suffering, to feed the hunger, the fear, the fear, the fear. It's the fear. It feeds the fear. I don't think that that's moral. And I don't know the law. There's so many laws. Everything's illegal. There's so many laws that I have to believe that every law is probably contradicted on some level by another law. And it's just a matter of knowing that law and then like getting a made person to like, it seems so, it's like it strays from the moral logic of my brain, which is the function of the law should be to avoid suffering for as many people as possible. Like, we punish individuals because an individual is hurting the group, and if the individual is hurting the group, then the individual is punished to prevent the larger suffering. And we make laws to articulate that so people aren't caught off guard. They're not surprised. It's not a trap, But the intention behind it should be not to dominate and submit, which is totally weird. I don't believe that they're stalking me with AI. I think they're stalking me with real people, and I think it's super creepy. I'm creeped out. I don't like it. Anyway, the morality of all this is non-existent. It is 100% tyranny. I don't see morality anywhere. I mean, I don't like being pushed around. I don't like people trying to dominate me. It's one thing if it was like a beautiful woman and she was like joking around with me, and I'd be like, I'll do anything you say. You know what I mean? But it's another thing when it's like a pig, a cop, a government employee, somebody who doesn't want to like hang out with me and be my equal and play some sort of game. It's like actual tyranny from actual gangsters. I want to kill them. I hate them so much. I do. It's not cool, There's nothing cool about state religion when you're kidnapping children. It would be cool if state religion included picnics and shit, and they were like passing out pamphlets on their lunch break or something like that, and it was like overt but friendly. No, this isn't friendly at all. They're complete jerks. They're not moral authorities, and they're not following any natural law. Whatever. They, in my opinion, they're all freaking punks. Whatever. Morality is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. But my eyes are pretty well shot.